Drill bits like to walk. If you want a hole in a specific spot, you have to create a place for your drill bit to be happy with an indentation, usually done with a center punch or something like it. Watch this. I'm not a machinist, I'm a blacksmith and a carpenter. So I'm not all that accurate, but I know that to make an accurate mark on a piece of steel, you pretty much need some sort of a scratch-all. See that? This is a very hard piece of steel, pretty fine point. You can get a hold of it and scratch. You can write your name if you want, or you can make a very fine, very specific location. Let me show you 2 or 3 ways to do this in steel, metal, and then a couple of ways to do it in wood. Starting with a center punch. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 center punches here, all similar in some ways, all with strengths and weaknesses. I'm going to point out the one that's worthless. This one's worthless. Look how round the end of that is. That's because either somebody didn't harden it or somebody got it too hot in sharpening and softened it. But you can tell by looking 2 things. When it's that big around, you can't really tell where the center of the center punch is making contact. Now I'm going to do this just for the sake of the conversation, but that round point made a big sloppy round hole nowhere near the center. Junk. I just picked up this little package of stuff, Irwin, punch, center punch, chisels, pin punch. You know, there's a drift punch, pin punches, that means the sides are parallel, there's no taper. We're going to use those in another video pretty soon. But the 2 center punches look pretty good. There's a 1/4 inch, 6 millimeter, and a 5/16, 8 millimeter. Here they are. The thing that will determine whether you want to use a bigger punch or a smaller punch, there's 2 things. How hard you're going to hit it, how big a hammer, how big an indentation you need, and how carefully you need to be able to see the point of impact. It's a trick, right? I mean, vision is a challenge. A smaller diameter center punch helps you see right down to the point of contact. This drift was made by Andy Donor, by the way. You roll it up on there and you give it a light tap and then you look. Well, that's pretty good. Will the camera show that? That's pretty good. And if you're successful on your first one, you find that and hit it harder. I can see that it's a little bit this side of center. Now you can fiddle around and angle it and kind of push it over there where you want. Now it's evening it up better. So that is that center punch. Let's try the factory Irwin and see if that's any more user-friendly. We got that shiny tip. We put contact on what looks like the right thing with our old trifocals. We roll it up. We give it a light tap. Pretty good. Fall back into the same indentation if you can. Yes, it's in there. Hit it again. Pretty good. All right, now any drill bit almost will find that. But there's a whole another sort of approach to getting a hole specifically located. Here's a spring-loaded center punch. You can see what's going on there. I've had this around the shop since I bought my first one of these. I bought one of these years ago. It was a cheap one, made in China, lasted about 30 seconds. So I bought this. Here's how this works. Same idea. You come right out to where you can see the intersection. Shadows are a challenge. You hold it down. You lift up the weight. Tap. Missed it. You see that? It's to my right of the cross. Let's see if we can clean that up. Now, some of you are yelling at your computer screen, I'm doing it wrong. You're probably right. And then at some point, when you like it, you go back and take your really macho center punch and you put it on there and you see what you get. Now that's pretty good. Now here's the one that gives you the best likelihood. This is made by Starrett. Starrett's a time-honored brand. I looked it up, and Starrett now is made in the eastern United States. It's made in Brazil. It's made in Scotland. It's made in China. But this particular Starrett punch is made in Scotland. I bought one like this, only cheaper, years ago. It broke immediately. Hopefully this one will do better. Here's the idea. You can put the tip of that, about as close as you can see, about as close as a shaky old man will allow. You hold some pressure, and then you push down until it goes click. That's the pick of the litter. See that? I'm going to get back into that same spot. Let's try to slide it around. No, it's caught. Still in the same spot. Look at that, sports fans. Now I'm going to get a sharp center punch. Try to fall into the same opening. That's the idea. Now let's drill a hole and see how it turns out. If it is fussy, you get as close as you can on the center punch and then start with a pretty small bit so that that center punch will sort of hold a good proportion of the bit itself into the location. You eyeball as square as you can, a low bit speed, good pressure. If your bit is cutting, lubrication is optional. As it gets ready to come out the other side, you decrease pressure and increase speed. I think probably a gradual start is also important. If you're a steel fabricator or working in your own shop and you've got to drill holes, you can get them pretty darn close like this. You're going to need some of those tools. If you're working wood and it needs to be pretty darn close, it's going to depend on what kind of bit you have. If you've got a brad point or anything like a brad point, a Forstner, anything like that, you're going to get close just with the bit. But if you have to just use a regular machinist bit, you're going to have to go back to the center punch just like we just showed you. So we just did a video on marking and cutting. You know, there are different things to think about in making the mark itself and when you're going to cut the board, where the sawdust goes and the kerf and add a little, take a little. Well, you can check that out. But in the meantime, back to drilling, if you want a hole precisely there and you have a bit like this or anything near like this, you have the advantage of being able to lay that needle point within just a few thousandths. The key to this is that you go easy on the drill when you start it. Let me try it. Get that needle point in there, that brad point, because it's holding the world when those outside ears, the cutters, begin to make. But let me pull that out and look. See, that's pretty good. Pretty darn good. Don't force it until you're well started. Not sharp, but it's doing it. It works the same way with a Forstner bit. Carefully line up the needle point with the intersection, come down nice and square, start easy, and feed hard. Pretty good. Okay, you see that? That's the very tip of that brad point coming out. If you can stop in time, you can turn around and intersect that and have no blowout whatsoever on the back. But it's fussy. Two more things drilling in wood. You can, if you don't have a brad point bit, if you've just got regular machinist bits, you can use a center punch on wood, just don't hit it very hard. Same drill. Get a small diameter center punch so you can see point of contact, and just a light bink, just like that. See, it's not perfect. So you can angle it a little bit and sort of crowd it over to where it looks better. Just kind of nudge, 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 nudge. There, see, that's getting better. And then a bit will fall into that. Or if you've got one of these other devices, this is going to put a divot way down in there because the spring is calibrated to set into steel. Look at that. That's clean. Last item in centering a hole, a self-centering hinge bit. Let me tighten that up. It's falling apart. The idea is that sheath on the outside will retract while the bit is being turned. What that means is you can come into a hinge or a strike plate, hold it where it goes, and drill the hole precisely centered, depending on the size of the screw you've got. Like this. Perfect. Also perfect. Self-centering hinge bits for hardware, center punches, brad point screws, low RPMs, attention to detail for everything else. Eventually you'll have a drill press. But until then, take your time, you're going to be fine. Thanks for watching Essential Craftsman, and keep up the good work.